Certainly a lot, a big part of Benoni, Vuyo Mvoko, has been painted blue by the DA in this last push rally. And we just heard from DA leader John Steenhuisen encouraging all those that are looking for great service delivery to vote for the DA come May 29th. Very good afternoon. Thank you so much for staying with us. You're watching Newsfeed, the PM edition. Join me in studio is our contributing political editor, Vuyo Mvoko. Based on what we've heard from John Steenhuisen, were we expecting to hear anything different in this final push, or is it just a reiteration of that message that the DA has been punting in this election period?
Very animated, John Steenhuisen, but continuing with a trend where speeches were generally flat, I think, for a final rally. Short and sweet, yes, but of course, I mean, nothing really new, but reiterating, as you say, the DA's messages. Things are better where we govern. This has been the ANC's, the DA's message throughout. Of course, I mean, not really borne by a great deal of facts, but certainly, I mean, if you talk about the Western Cape, you have there, as a matter of fact, more clean audits in Western Cape municipalities, than most provinces. But as to whether the material conditions of the people of the Western Cape, especially in your townships, whether their lives are different, from what happens in Gauteng or the Eastern Cape.
Well, you speak about that, Vuyo, and if you do go to Khayelitsha, you go to Gugulethu, you go to Harare, you go to many places in the Western Cape. In the last few months, one of the things that's happened is those places have seen a number of homes burnt to the ground, and obviously that speaks to housing challenges. And one of those,
it's the same story. It's what you get in any other part of the country, and that's why I thought it was hypocritical of President Ramaphosa, for example, when he went to the Western Cape last week, to say, I mean, he was pointing at the conditions in the townships, saying things are terrible there. They're terrible everywhere, I mean, the townships and in the rural areas of this country. But politicians being politicians, ahead of an election, they will capitalize on, whatever they see, whatever they, I mean, people are pointing out to them. But for the same reason that, I mean, one can say things aren't necessarily different in the Western Cape for the people, and for black people in particular. You can say that also about where the ANC rules. Things may have improved in the past, 30 years, but not, but there's a lot that is happening, or that has happened, which I mean, the poorest of the poor, as the ANC likes to put it, haven't felt, like a great deal of change.
So let's talk about voter mobilization and what the DA has been able to achieve, and what do we read into it, right? So when you look at what's happening in Benoni, it's a 20,000-seater Willamore Cricket Stadium. It's filled to capacity. We go to the IFP and KZN, who are having a rally today, and again we've got those numbers. So there are very few rallies where the political parties have made the effort and have failed to fill out the stadia. Do we read anything into these numbers, or is it a case of these are loyalists that we expect to attend the rallies, that are already part of that contingent that's going to vote for the parties? But the big question is, how many of these voters that we're seeing at these rallies that have turned out so well are firstly new voters or first-time voters that previously didn't vote for those political parties?
I don't think we should read much into it, frankly, because the DA, as things stand, is the second biggest political party in the country, and yet it has opted to go as they have always done, for venues that take probably the least, like, a small capacity. You know, you look at where they launched their manifesto, which was outside the union buildings. You look at their victory rally today. I mean, the EFF yesterday had doubled the number in Polokwane. The ANC, I mean, you look at the capacity of the F&B stadium, taking 80-odd, thousand, which is like double the capacity where the EFF, was booked. They didn't fill it up. But that speaks to disorganization more than anything else. But the DA knows that its supporters are not your rally-going type, but they show up on the day to vote for that party, and that's why it is the second, biggest party. So yes, it's good for show, to fill up a stadium. You see a sea of blue, but that's for show. In reality, the people who vote for the DA don't attend rallies, but they do show up. And that is why John Steenhuisen was actually emphasizing the point that turnout is very important for that political party. But it is only by showing up on the day, and this has been the problem that the ANC, has had, in that it knows that it can rely on. It does have the numbers, not only in terms of card-carrying members, but people who actually support the organization. But if they don't show up on election day, it's as good as not having them. And that's why John Steenhuisen is emphasizing the point that you have to show up on that day. That is why he says they have a date with destiny, because if they don't show up on that day, then all the campaigning, is good for nothing.
And that theme, we can rescue SA, is it likely to resonate with the voters?
I guess it's a message they have chosen, that they are about rescuing. Some people would argue that's a bit patronizing, to say that, but that's the message they thought would resonate, with their supporters. And that, I guess, is what is most important. People can criticize it for even symbolically, banning the flag, but they don't find anything wrong, with that, because it's their understanding of their voter that such a message or such symbolism would resonate with them. What another person who supports a different party may think of it is neither here nor there, for them. And you've got to give it to, a John Steenhuisen, a Helen Zille, in that once they set their, minds, to something, right? They just follow the script, and they don't care what another person who's unlikely, to vote for the DA anyway. They don't care about what that person thinks.